Great. So we want to give a dusk welcome to Gio Savarese, the coach of the Portland Timbers. And before that, the coach of the New York Cosmos. Gio had an extensive playing career in the MLS especially, and with the Metro Stars. Importantly for us, he's a New York City soccer legend. And even better than that, he's a former teammate and a dear friend of Dusk legend, Gustavo Palomino. So, Gustavo, please give a more intimate welcome to our guest, Gio Savarese.
Hi, Gio. How are you? I mean, what can I say about Gio? He's like a brother to me. You know, when I asked you if you can have this interview for our club, to be honest, you never hesitate. I really like the way you always have been, right? Very open, very humble, very modest. And I was a little bit afraid to start that conversation because asking to do something like that, maybe I didn't feel, for some way I didn't feel comfortable. But you never hesitate. You said right away, Gio, let's, Gustavo, come on, man. I'm like your brother. Let's do this. And you set up the day, and I appreciate that. For giving you time and just going back. I mean, the years that we, you know, you don't realize how many years we know each other, and it's more than 20. I don't want to say the exact number, but it's more than 20 to leave it like that. Mm-hmm. And I remember, tell me if I'm wrong, it was at the one of the my first preseason with LIU. I think it was yours, the second one, and for me that was very special because actually I get to know wonderful people there, and I will still keep that relation with a lot of those guys. But I also give me the opportunity to get to know you and start a very strong relationship with you. Until this day, you know, it keeps it strong. I really, it was enjoyable. And one of those, actually, I believe I have something that very, very, that I saw going through my pictures. This, I said, I have to show this too, because this is a special picture for me. I will tell you why, Gio. Because in this preseason, not only Gio is a very good soccer player, but he's also a very, this is, by the way, this is me and Gio, right? You see the piano here, right? Gio also played the piano, and I remember you composed a very nice song for the season on that. I remember that. Remember that, Gio?
Of course. Good times.
So, Gio, well, you know, I think most of the New Yorkers who are related to the game, to soccer, to this beautiful sport, know Gio. You have achieved a lot of things in New York City as a player, as a coach. You have been a college technical director, coach, and I would like to hear more of the experience. But you know, Kevin, I have to some of the questions. We can just chat and informal way. And welcome for being here. Thank you for your time.
No, listen. First of all, that I appreciate. I'm very thankful for the invitation. You know, Kevin, you provide to me the other day. Being able to, you know, share great moments, you know, and talk to you guys is, you know, it's a pleasure for me. And Gustavo, you know, when you call me asking to do this, you're like my brother. So it's just, you know, you just have to ask, and that's it. And that's, you know, so many years that we've been together, so many great experiences, so many great moments that we have had that thanks to soccer, we have been able to, you know, to build, like Kevin, you know, so many good memories and moments that also we shared together, and being able to be now here, you know, talking about it, going back and is a great thing for me. You know, when you put together those pictures, every picture that you show had a story, had a moment, had a reason to be there, and it was great to see, you know, through those pictures that you showed, how, you know, this life of soccer can be very feeling to a person, and especially create so many good friends through the period that we have had. So it is a pleasure to be with you guys, and I'm looking forward to sharing many things and to talk about so many great moments.
Thanks, Jim.
Great. Gio, the first topic we'd like to ask you about is a little bit about your early development, about when you were a kid and your youth soccer experience. We're obviously a youth club, and you're part of our family since you've said Gustavo is your brother. So, so if you don't mind, just share a little bit about your childhood and how you developed as a player and fell in love with the game.
So talking about that, I don't know if everybody knows, I was born in Caracas, Venezuela, and I grew up, soccer wise, in Caracas. So my father, my family loved soccer, and in Venezuela at that time, soccer wasn't as renowned worldwide, but nevertheless, youth-wise, there was a great league. A lot of kids played the most, sport the kids play was soccer, similar to the U.S. the way it was a few years ago. So there was a great youth program, and the profession was still developing. So at that time, I play always for a club team. It was an Italian Venezuelan club that we were part of. And since a little kid, I was very fortunate to have, the starting part of my career, two great coaches that inspire me, that make me fall in love, besides my family, about the sport. That gave me so many great advices, to be a better soccer player, but even more so to try to be a better person. And one is Jurandir Procopio was my first coach, one of my first coaches, Brazilian, happened to be, he was a player as well. And then another one was a Peruvian, who Gustavo knows very well, that unfortunately passed away, a week ago, was Perico Leon. And I had the fortune to have this unbelievable, human being, unbelievable player teaching me since I was a little kid. So I couldn't wait the moment in my house that I had to go to practice. It was like in my mind from the morning, waiting to go there because I love the environment. I love my coaches. And I grew up with that passion. I grew up with a passion in the fact that I knew that that was what I wanted to do the most. But also my family made me understand the importance also to make sure that I was good in school, the opportunities that I could have in the future if I apply myself into school, and how important it was to balance the two parts and try to make sure that you comply with the two areas and use my time in the best possible way. Still having fun because, we're young, we're kids, and we want to have fun and enjoying our times. But also was important to make sure that we achieve that. And think to that, then I was able to come to the United States and be able to get a scholarship in Long Island University. I'll get to that a little bit later. So while I was growing up, I was very much always selected in all the state teams and national teams. So I remember at 10 years old, I had my first travel to compete, my state against another state very far away. So traveling became an unusual thing since I was a little kid, and my parents felt very comfortable because in some way they saw me maturing quickly with all the experiences that I was having, and so many friends that I was making. So from that point, the national team became my first game with the national team, U15, happened right away. Then I went to U18, then I went to U23, and I made my debut with the full national team when I was 17 years old. That was another great story that we can talk maybe later. So at a very early age, I was already representing my country. So I felt very proud, not only to play soccer, because it was something that I loved to do, but also that I had a responsibility that I was representing my club, my school, my national team. And since I was a little kid, I knew that come with some sacrifices, and something that I had to balance. Sometimes, and some of my friends on Friday night, I had a game on a Saturday, and I was 13, 12, 14. They had a place to go and have and stay until late. And I will be, I can go, but I have to go back 9 o'clock because I have a game tomorrow. So I always had that mind in myself, knowing that I had to apply myself to be able to achieve what I wanted to achieve, but that didn't take away that I had to balance also the fun moment, because you have to have also that experience as well, because you're growing up in a youth environment. And through that, I made so many friends. I can tell you, soccer's given me uh, child friends, grown-up friends, family friends in so many ways. And it's funny because everywhere that I travel, and my wife makes fun of me because I always have a phone number of who to call in whatever country I am. And that's what soccer gives you, that level of friendship that it is incredible. So growing up, I went to a school, which in Venezuela, the last year of my school, I was already playing professional. So that was tough. And I had a support of a family that made that happen, because I will have, a game on Sunday per se, 12 hours away by bus, coming back at 4 o'clock in the morning, have my father sleeping on the car, waiting outside where I was going to be dropped off, take me home, take a shower, and go 7 o'clock in the morning to school, go through the school, and then crash in the afternoon and sleep. But I was trying to balance to make sure that I made my parents proud, that I listened to what they asked me, which is, getting a degree. And then that helped me tremendously also through my career, the school experience, and also as a coach. The more that I learned, the more that you learn about different things, the better you become as a person, and the better you can adapt to the changes. Because in soccer, one thing is for sure, changes come constantly. Sometimes I was on the bench, sometimes I will play, sometimes I was the leading goal scorer and the person to go to. Sometimes I had to try out some places and try to make it. So adapting and change is a constant. And I feel the more prepared you are as a person, the more culture that you are in understanding that these things are going to happen, became, a huge help for me in my career.
Thank you. Now, Jenny, I wanna ask you something, because I get when I know see you, saw you in the field, right? When I get to see you in the field for the first time, I tell me if I'm wrong, but you were playing as a center defender at that time, unlike you. Now,
I came as a striker.
Mm-hmm.
And Arnold told me, we need a center back. So I need you in the back because we need to reinforce the back. And I told him, listen, the more that I have played was defensive mid. But he said, I think you can do it. And I said, okay, I just have to adapt to it. And then I changed in the whole first year. You're right. I played center back the whole season.
Yeah, and you juve, right? The coaches change you to different position, or what position do you usually play as? Because now you ended up as a very good, successful night player, right?
Yeah. So when I was young, a little kid, I mean, my position was, I was a number 10. I was a playmaker. I was the captain in every age group that I was in, and the coaches always played me as a number 10. In some moments, when I went to the national team, they played me also when I went to Argentina in the South American Cup in I think '88. I played all defensive mid. So I even see some people posting things about that time, and they make the mistake of thinking I was a striker. No, I play defensive mid in that point. But then a coach came in my third year professional in Venezuela when I was 17, and he said, he was a Brazilian German coach, and he said, your best position, I think, is a striker. You need to play striker. And I played all that season as a striker, so I became a regular striker. But then when I came to LIU, I became a center back. So for me I was able to adapt to the different positions, because I had to, the way I did is I put my mind and I thought, I'm not a forward anymore. I have to play as a center back. So I need to learn what is in this position that requires from me to give to the team. And I have to play it in the way it needs to be played, and I have to adapt to it. So it's not that I play as a center forward, center back. No, I had to learn and understand. And that was one thing that I think it helped me also as a coach, to make sure that my mind always was geared to understanding what requires this position for me to be successful and to be able to help the team in the best possible way. And I knew that I had to change the mindset in order to be, effective at that position, whatever the position had to be.
Now that you tell me all these positions, it's very, because I believe when you, every year at LIU, even playing as a defender, I think you had the highest score, right, in the team?
Yes.
Right? So you had that already, even though if probably you play a goalkeeper, you will have the highest.
No, I tried to use all the corners to my advantage. So every time that I had a chance to go forward in the corner, I said, I have to score.
I remember that.
Well, that's great, Gio. It's especially great for our players to hear that it's part of your development process as a kid, when you play in college and even at the highest level professionally, when you're asked to adapt and play a different position, and how you embrace that is fantastic. And we'll switch into, I'm going to ask you tell us about LIU, which was a soccer powerhouse when you and Gustavo were there, and your New York City soccer experience. But before we do that, who was your idol? Who was your favorite player? Who did you love when you were growing up?
So I used to watch a lot of soccer. So there were many players that I loved. And I remember the first player I always admired was Rudy Krol, which was a Dutch center back that played like a midfielder in the 70s. Now I'm kind of going too far back. The kids are like, wow, 70s. So, but I'm talking about that I was 6, 7 years old. So that's my recollection to that time, watching this player who played then for Napoli. And then that's how I became, besides my family, that's why I became a fan of Napoli from little kid. From that time point, I kept on watching Maradona and other players, but I always focus, more on the position that I play and who I admire. And because I follow the Italian national team, first when I was a midfielder, Tardelli was one of my, idols. But then when I became a forward, Gianluca Vialli became my number one guy. And besides, the fact that I was following the team that he plays, Sampdoria, and the national team of Italy, I felt that he represented in some way what I could become. He was similar to the way I play the game, and I tried to, see the things that he did and how can I improve as a player, because I felt that I have the same characteristics, and so he became my guy to follow and watch and not idealize, but more of give me center of where I wanted to be. And since young, it was my focus. And then one day I received a gift, his shirt, when I was a little kid. So that made me even more, excited to follow him. So the two of them were my biggest idols at the time.
That's great. And one of the things that you said about watching him and watching how he played and incorporating that into your game, our kids now are watching a lot of games on YouTube, watching players play at the positions they like. And since we can't get on the field, doing what you just described is part of their development now. So thanks for bringing that up. And ironically, Vialli went on to manage as well. So you really did follow in his footsteps in many ways. So that's fantastic. So this is the part I'm looking forward to most, because maybe we'll hear some stories about Gustavo, about your college experience at LIU, and then starting in the New York City local professional leagues before the MLS opened up. So tell us whatever you like about that part of your journey.
Yeah, so to make it as brief as possible, from Venezuela, my family moved to Italy in 89, 90. And I always had in my mind, because someone, Cheche Vidal, that came here to play college in Boston University, always told me when I was in Venezuela, I think you can go and get and be able to continue your studies in a university, get a scholarship, and play soccer in the United States. So it was always in the back of my mind. In Italy, I saw many things not going the way I wanted. At that time, the Bosman rule wasn't applied, so I couldn't play as a local player. I had to wait 3 years, play amateur. And for someone that was coming from playing with the national team, I felt that was like, I wasn't fulfilling everything that I could have. And I said, I think this could be a good opportunity for me to go to a university, try to continue to play. So I called Cheche Vidal. First, I told my father. He thought I was nuts, because I said, where are you going? I told him to buy me a ticket the next day. And, it was great. He provided. I came to the United States. And I was able to get 2 scholarships, one in Boston University and one in Long Island University. And then I fell in love with New York. And I said, I'd rather go to New York, to Long Island University. And I think I made a great decision, because I got to have a great experience and learn from New York. Besides having a good, academy degree, I also had a New York City learning, experience that was very important for my development. And then I found so many great friends, so many people, in which Gustavo is one of them. And it was, an unbelievable experience. And that's how I ended up in Long Island University, where I went for 4 years. I finished my degree in marketing, and it was unbelievable. The amount of players, great players that we had there, with Arnie Ramirez, that from day one he shows the passion. He shows always how much he cared for us, and we had our great moments, our difficult moments, our learning moments. And when Gustavo, I met him in my preseason, my first year. He said second year, but it was the first year, because that first year he wasn't yet in the school, but he was coming to train with us. And he was coming to train with us, and he was very, very good. I don't know if the guys know, but he had a magic left foot, and he couldn't make anybody that he wanted. So we had to be careful. We have to walk around very, very close legs, because he was sneaky in the way he played. He was very good, very crafty, and very honest to the game. But what I love most about Gustavo was what great human being he's always been. He's an unbelievable person. He's always there to show you his best side. Through the difficult time, he always brings goodness into any moment. So for me, it became always, an unbelievable person to be part of, and it was great. He was very mature. I mean, I was mature young, but also he was very mature young as well. So we had a lot of young guys that were all over the place. So we tried to help them also to stay focused in some things, and Gustavo was big part of that as well.
Great. Gustavo is an old soul for sure.
No, good times, Gio. Good times. As you're talking, a lot of things come to my mind, and good memories we had at DUS. But one of the things I always remember is that always you would try not only to be a leader in the group, but to push all the players. Remember me, right? Trying to pass the Cooper test, the famous Cooper test. For me, it was a hard thing to do for me. But Gio was one of the type that he could be able to do, I think, less than 11 or 10. But he will come back and push me. And I will never forget those little things that will come back and you say, come on, let's do it. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I think always when you're part of a group, I see it as a family, and the same thing, I see it as a coach, and I try to pass that to the players. And I think the only way to succeed is that we all push each other, to be better, and to be positive, because I think they're always through positive, message you can achieve great things, and you can demand for more. And we had a group there that, Gustavo, I remember that Cooper test, the guys, I don't know if they know, we used to practice in preseason 4 times a day, 4 times a day.
That was great.
So sometimes I see, players being upset when I try to schedule 2 sessions a day. We used to do 4 times, and one of them was running in the morning with Arnold driving behind the car, so he will never get tired. And we had to go and go and go. But you know what? That made us stronger. That made us stronger physically. That made us stronger mentally to be able to confront and be able to adapt to different challenges that came to our life.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I was saying one of the things also I remember about you traveling, I think now it comes from your youth, right? It's when you started at LIU playing for Long Island Rough Riders, right? You were studying at that time too, right? Your last year, and you had to travel by train, right?
Yeah. So my last year, you're right. So the last year, of course, we were not sure where we're going to go, what was going to happen after we graduated. And we were very fortunate that at that time, a new league came out, or a league that existed extended themselves to the New York area. And there were 4 teams that came out of that extension. One was the Rough Riders, which was the team that I ended up playing for. 2 teams in New Jersey, one called the Imperials, the other one's the Dragons. And then there was a New York Fever from Westchester also. So, at that time, I wanted to continue to play soccer. And I said, this is the opportunity to, while I'm still in school, I used to play with the Cosmopolitan League, the Greek Americans, and when we were young, we used to go there and make a little bit of money, and with the money we used to go and eat out, but then we wanted something a little bit more that was closer to professional, and that provided the USISL League provided that. But in order for me to finish the last year, so what I had to do is as soon as I finished my last class, I had to get on a train from DeKalb Avenue, go to Astoria. It took about 45 minutes, jump on somebody's car, who drove me all the way for an hour and a half to Mitchellfield in Long Island in Nassau County. Practice, and those practice were like 2-hour practice. Then come back, get on the train again, another an hour and a half, 45 minutes, and arrive around 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning back to the dorms in school. Wake up at 6 in the morning, go back to school and continue. And that was every single day. But at the end, that paid off because we had a successful career. I was able to be part of that team. Alfonso Mondelo selected me to be part of that team. And then we ended up winning the championship in 95, the US the championship. And I was the MVP of the whole league at that year. So it was great moments, but they all came with sacrifice, because I think sometimes, and when I was young, it's the same. I used to think, okay, I want to be like this player. And look at what he does, and look, the fans, and look how amazing. We see all the amazing part, but we don't see sometimes the path to get there. We don't see the struggles, the fight, the sacrifice, the mentality. And you have to understand that if you want to be successful, because you won't get there without having to go through that path.
You touched on that we're looking to, I think a lot of comes with sacrifice, right? And that's what you did. I remember during those times when I saw you doing that, I was like, wow, he's gonna make it far because he's putting the effort.
But also, Gustavo, it's important to understand that it was sacrifice, but I love to do it. And sometimes sacrifice, I think it goes in a way of thinking, it's something that I don't want to do. The sacrifice is something that I struggle. No, it is sacrifice sometimes is commitment to something that you want to do. It's commitment to follow your passion. And I think if you link that to that way, it is worth it. It is fun. It is difficult because you have to have a mindset, but every minute that you're able to achieve that and go back and forth and accomplish what you wanted to do and it becomes successful, it is a pleasure. So it is important to relate sacrifice sometimes to a very positive other side.
I agree.
Gio, tell us how when the MLS emerged, was that your next step up into the full-time professional realm?
Yes. So I played those 2 years with the Rough Riders. During those 2 years, there was a talk of, there was the World Cup in '94, and we all knew that United States had a commitment to that. In order for them to have the World Cup in '94, they had to create a professional league. I know that they were looking in '95 to create it. They extended to '96. So it was in the mind of many players in the United States, how this league is going to come about. What is it going to happen? Can I be part of it? And then when it started taking shape a little bit more closer to '96, then we were all excited when we start hearing about, New York is going to have the New York, New Jersey Metro Stars, and then Boston is going to have New England Revolution. And this, I think at that time there were only 10 teams that were introduced into this possible league. We all wanted to be part of, and we understood that every game for us that we play in the USISL League could be a possibility for us to showcase ourselves to be part of this league. Now, for me, it was even more difficult because we heard that there would be limited options for foreign players. I was still a foreigner at that time. I wasn't considered. I didn't have a green card. I was just coming out of college. And I had to fill one of the 4 spots that the teams had. So, and at that time they were trying to cast the best player in the world. So Valderrama, Donadoni, Echeverri, all these big players that played, for the national teams. they were being selected. Ex-players from the, the players that were at that time with the national team, Tony Meola, Tad Ramos, Peter Vermees, they were selected also to be part of the teams, but everybody else was going to be part of a draft, and I was going to be part of that draft. So I hope that they selected me because I knew it was a big, difficult chance. So that's why every day for me playing for the Rough Riders was important. I was glad that I scored 31 goals that season. I was glad that I was, the MVP. I was glad that we won the final against Minnesota, and that helped me be able to be selected in the Metro Stars. But also at that time, we didn't have guaranteed contracts. So from one practice, they could have cut us if you didn't practice well. And they could decide, the coach, to say, I don't need you, and that's it. Because our contracts from January 1st to July 1st, they were open. They were semi-guaranteed. And then from July 1st, it became guaranteed until the end of the year. And then you had to prove yourself again the next year. So for me, every single day, it was important to show that I was worth it to be part of the team. And as a striker, one of the things that I said is I'm always going to work hard, but the best way for me to show that I'm very important for this team is scoring goals. And that's what I did. I make sure that I focus myself on being productive, being a team player, being a good player on the team, but especially to be a guy that was reliable and that could score goals. And that for me ended up giving me the chance to be part of MLS at that beginning part, in which, many don't remember, but we had great crowds in Giant Stadium. We had an average of about 30,000 fans coming every single game, challenging matches. Some of the rules were different than now. We had shootouts, the clock went backwards. And so a lot of interesting things that they were trying to implement. But it was right away, very much liked by the fans that first year. And I was very proud to be in that first stepping stone of something big that could become great. Never thought that it will become what it is today, but had hopes to be part of this, forever. So I was very proud to start in '96 for the Metro Stars.
Great. So tell us a little bit about some of your playing highlights before we get into talking about coaching, because you played also for a couple other teams in the MLS and internationally. So share a couple of your highlights.
Yeah, so I was fortunate that then, I played for the Metro Stars. I was traded to go to New England Revolution, and then I went to San Jose Earthquakes. But every year that I played in MLS, I had the chance to go back for a period of time to play in Venezuela. So I played for Caracas, Deportivo Táchira, Deportivo Chacao. So plus with the national team as well. And then I felt that I need to make a jump to Europe. And I was, transferred by a Serie A team called Perugia at that time, and they bought my rights, and I traveled there, and I played a little bit there, and then they sent me to Viterbese. I love, because I learned so much, in the league, in the way the coaches. I always, every time or everything that I play, I always try to learn more, understand the coaches, understand what they did, write down practices on a book. And in Italy, I had a lot of learning lessons for me that were important. At some point, the team didn't go, to the next division, and I ended up going to Swansea, and I went to England to play. So Swansea in Wales, but participates in the English league. I had a great, time there. My daughter was born in Swansea. I scored 14 goals. The fans, had a great connection with them. But then at the end, I was, transferred to Millwall in the Championship. So I went to London and played there. Then I went back to Italy, went back to Venezuela, came back here, and I felt that I had to close my career in where I started in the United States, which was the Rough Riders. So that was in 2005, my last season, and I closed it out in there before start working on the other side, which it was with the Metro Stars. So basically in 2005, I felt that I could continue to play, but I saw the opportunity of starting in the other side, in the coaching side, in directing, maybe the path for me to follow early and not continue just to play, to extend the plane and not take that opportunity to, start on the other side. That's
great. And you have clearly started with the MLS, and now you're coaching in the MLS. So it's a great story itself. and coaching one of the top teams in the MLS consistently every year. We definitely would love to hear about that. But tell us just a little about how you started your coaching journey. And then, of course, you coached the New York Cosmos. So many of us got to see you. Those teams were wonderful to watch, but also champions. So just tell us a little bit about how you started to get into coaching, a little bit about that Cosmos scene, and then you could tell us about the Timbers to close us out.
So since early, I always judge myself, trying to understand what I needed to work and how could I get better and analyze things and why they happen. And I felt that always helped me to look at the right perspective of, what I was searching in the game and learning the game. So as a player, it helped me tremendously. As a striker, it allowed me to read the game, to make sure that I was always in the right spot, hopefully at the right time to be able to score goals. But it didn't come just because I was lucky. It became because I tried to learn about my teammates. I tried to learn about the defenders. I tried to learn about, how can I better play my game in my strengths and weaknesses. And that also carried through, my life as a player. So sometimes when I had the chance, I will go help in camps. I will go help, friends and start coaching kids and start learning in how to interact and start putting my ideas into place, what I have learned. But then at some point, when I had to retire and I did a lot of camps and I organized my own camps in Venezuela with AC Milan. I would go watch and travel and see teams trainings. But I had to make that transition. So my wife and I, we felt it was the right moment. I was offered the youth director and sporting director position with the Metro Stars when the youth program was starting. I felt it was great to go back to the club that I played for, that they given me the opportunity to make that transition from player to director and be able to run the whole academy at that particular time that was starting. That there was no many MLS teams that were concentrating in the youth. The DC United and Metro Stars were the only ones at that time. Was a great opportunity. So not only I start then, looking into the part of coaching, but also directing and putting together a team in place to be able to create something that hopefully was special. That now, thank God, is one of the best academies in the United States. So I had my experience there for a few years. Then at a particular point, I was hired by Medovo to work there for about 2 years before I ended up going to the Cosmos in 2010. In Medovo, for me, was great because besides coaching one of the teams, I was directing, the DA academy level, but it allow me to learn some things or more, not to learn more. Yes, of course, to learn, but to put in place some of the ideas that I had, that I wanted to see. The interaction with the players, the communication, connecting with the team. It was great, and I was at the year lucky that the first year was able to be selected the best coach of U16 Development Academy. Again, even though we didn't win, it was something that I treasure even more. But it gave me a lot of learning lessons. And then when the Cosmos started in the youth, I was directing the academy in New York, then the academy also in the West. So all my experiences were more in putting in place everything that I learned into the youth. And because I love also, I found also great satisfaction seeing the progress of the players, being able to, give advice to them, be able to help them in their development and seeing their success when some of them start getting to college and getting scholarships or getting professional or we had a moment that they didn't know what to do and giving me a call and trying to get my opinion. It gave me so much, satisfaction that I could help them and that I could be close to them, that it was great. So that's how everything started. And then at the end, I was asked in 2012, before that, then I coached the PDL that I think you also remember that time. I had some of your players from Colombia being part of that as well. And then we start, getting to that. Then I went to Manchester United to be able to, coach one of the teams that play against the testimonial of Paul Scholes. So we put together a group of players worldwide, some of the local players from New York. And with Eric Cantona and Kobe Jones, we put together this team and we went to Manchester, Old Trafford, we played there. So I was, growing in my career as a coach. And in 2012, the new group of the Cosmos, they said, listen, if you want to, first I made a presentation thinking I was going to be the sporting director. And they said, we only want you to be the sporting director. We want you to be the coach. Will you take the job? And I said, I would love to. And that's how I start in some way my professional career. So thank God from there, we had some exciting moments with the Cosmos. We made it to four finals, 3 championships, 1 semifinal. So it was incredibly successful, thank God. And some great moments. We recruited some great players, allow me to grow also as a coach, having to deal with some big time players. It allowed me to understand, some of the things in the training. I wanted the players to work very hard the first year. My practice sometimes, became 2 hours because I wanted to be so detail oriented. And then I start understanding maybe, we can do this in an hour and a half. And so you start learning and growing. And that allowed me then to be able to make it now to Portland. I had a few offers to jump into MLS before from some teams, but I never felt the right moments for me to make the transition until Portland came in. And I'm just glad to be part of the Timbers, which I've been here now 2 years and a half, with a final the first year that unfortunately we lost against Atlanta. And last year, just we made the playoff and didn't make it any further. And now, I'm here very happy coaching a very good group of players.
That's fantastic and inspiring to our coaches who are on the chat as well. So I'm going to make one final statement, and I'm going to let you and Gustavo choose to end your presentation and interview as you see fit. But I've said this to Gustavo. He agrees, of course. We talked about it with other coaches. We would love it if you were our national team coach, Gio. You know U.S. soccer. You've played in South America and Europe. So would you take that position if that was offered in the near future?
Definitely, would love to. I feel that United States is giving me so much. I feel so part of everything that has happened in soccer in so many levels in the United States. If I have the privilege in one day to be able to manage the national team, it will be an honor. It will be something that I will take with incredible respect and give my all to it. So you never know. Maybe one day it could happen, and we'll see.
Well, your Dusk family has your back on that. So, Gustavo, you want to take the last phase?
Yeah, just thinking of, because always saw you coaching and dealing with, you said those star players like Raul, Senna. I always wonder, maybe as a coach, how did you manage the locker room? Especially having those players. Can you give me some of your experience?
Yes, I think learning. You have so many different type of players, and those particular players that you mentioned that are top players. When you talk about Messi, Ronaldo, Raul, Senna, Zidane. These are big time players that they can change the game, but also they have the one thing that people don't understand. They have a high expectation of not only themselves, but from everybody that is around. And when I was able to recruit these players to come, to us to make the team better, to make sure that they had the experience of New York, the experience of the New York Cosmos, I knew that I had to be one that has to match up their expectations as well. But I embraced that, and I wanted to make sure that I gained their respect. I think first of all, you need to make sure that they respect you, because if they don't respect you as a coach and what you try to give, then it becomes very difficult, because the level of care and the way they compete is at the highest level, and they want you to be at that level, so they need to respect you. So you have to put the work. You have to make sure that every day you're giving them everything, that you're there, that you see you working, that you are always, giving the respect that you deserve to them as well, to make sure that in games they know exactly how you're going to enter into the game, what is the plan, how is the role, what is the opposition. So they required all that, from you. I remember Raul asking me from videos prior to us playing the teams, I need to watch them. And then when you talk to them about the team that you play, they already know that team. So you cannot just invent things, you need to be prepared. So they challenged me to be better. And one thing also that I found that it was very, very important is you need to be transparent. You need to make sure that they see that you're honest, that you're going to tell them the truth. And even sometimes that is something that they don't want to hear, that you challenge them as well, because they want to be challenged. They want to feel that you're there also to make them better. And I think that was one thing that I learned through them. And that's why we are still very good friends, and there's mutual respect. But I think they require that from you. If they don't see you working hard, if they don't see you being transparent, if they don't see you that you are knowledgeable and that you're trying to learn, and that if you make a mistake, if you own it and you try to make it better, they respect you. So at the end, all that is important. And then also the other part is that they also have an important part in the group. They need to be an example for the group. They don't need to be those that come in, oh, I did this in my career, now I'm going to just walk. No, if they come like that, the other players need to see you challenging him and saying, this is not good enough. That way the players respect you, the players can respect him, whoever player it is, and that's why you can have a very good locker room that is going to push to the same direction.
It's good. I thought, let me go back a little bit, because I think we have in the audience, we have, a lot of players that probably the dream would be play professional, right? And this one of I think every player would like to do as a young player. But in your career, you said, I think you play high level in Venezuela. You were playing already under 17 for the national team, right?
Yes.
So when you went to Italy and do the chances to play professional there, right? It was hard for you. Then why you don't decide to keep playing professional in Venezuela and you decide to come to the States to play college, and how that decision was worth it or impact on you? I can tell you, I mean, your career, a whole thing, but there are kids that are in that moment, it's they're maybe thinking that the only way to succeed would be playing professional, right?
Yes, I think, and that's a very good question. I could have went back to Venezuela and play there. In my life, in my career, I always have followed, yes, what I think, but more what I feel, what is in my heart, and what is the next step. And I have to feel it. It has to feel right. And at that time, it felt right coming to the United States and be able to get a scholarship. It felt right to go to school and get a degree. It felt right that was the path for me to follow. And I didn't know, because sometimes you have a desire to the future, but you don't know how that path is going to be. It's not paved perfect. It's not that you can only plan and say, this is the only way. There's many avenues, many different ways to be able to get there. You can have your thoughts and say, I believe that I have the capability to become a player. I think this is the bigger passion that I have. This is what I would love to do. And I'm willing to do everything possible to sacrifice and give everything that I have to get there. But sometimes the road brings you different obstacles, and the road might change direction. The fact that I would have went to Venezuela, it doesn't mean that I wouldn't have been able to be successful in achieving my goal to be professional anyway. It's just that it could have been a different path, but maybe it would have been a path in which I wouldn't have had a degree. It maybe would have been a path in which I wouldn't have learned the cultural differences that I learned in New York, and the people of New York, and being by myself and 18 years old in a college in a different country, coming to the United States without knowing any English and having to learn a new language. So I feel that the challenges that I found in the United States in this path make me stronger. So I think the main message here is that the path can be so many different ways. And sometimes the path feels that it doesn't have a future, but you're the one that have to figure out the routes, how to continue to try to make it there. And as long as that's your passion, you have to push as much as you can to be able to accomplish it. And coming to the United States just felt right at that particular time.
Thank you. Thank you. Also, we have in our audience a lot of coaches that saying hi to you. I don't know, probably Alice Cuba, say hello.
Oh, please say hi.
Some other coaches are there. But Yanni, I really appreciate for your time. I think it was good to hear all this experience that you went through. And like I said, I'm very happy to have you here. And thank you for your time again. You want to say something and advice for our players, to our coaches, anything that you want to say to close? I don't know if Kevin has another question.
Well, just Gio, a huge thanks from the club, and not only an informational discussion, but inspiring. So thanks very much.
No, thank you. First of all, thank you so much for the invitation, Kevin, Gustavo. It is a pleasure to be able to reconnect with you, being able to share these moments. I pass along also my hello to all the coaches there, to continue to do the work with a lot of passion. I know, and I'm sure that they understand the importance that they have on the future of the players, because it's not only to develop, players, it's also to develop people and to help the parents, in that work that they have to make, their kids or their young soccer players better people as well, and to prepare for what is coming in the future. So, all the best to you guys, also to all the players, that you are in a great place, care with good people, and not dusk the club very, very well. And I know that everything is done, with an expertise, with a good mindset, but ultimately with a great passion, and that everything comes from the heart. So you are in a very good place to continue to grow. And I wish you, you guys the best. Remember, hopefully, I hope that some of the things that I have said can resonate to you, to give you some answers, to give you some guidance to your future. But what I can say more than anything is just enjoy your moment, enjoy soccer. Make sure that you go to practice, demand yourself, push yourself, but make that be an enjoyment. Share the moments that you have, with your teammates. Share the moments that you have, in the conversations with your coaches, the times that you can go to play and compete, the opposite players on the other side. They become good friends to you as well, because they build memories. So enjoy every single moment of your youth, and focus on the balance of school, because school is very, very important. It will make you a better person. It will give you a better future, and can pave the path to a better soccer career afterwards. So thank you so much. I enjoyed this time, and I wish all, unbelievable time, especially during this difficult time in which we're all living. And hopefully MLS can be back soon, and then you can see us compete. And I know you're going to cheer for us now.
Without a doubt.
Thank you, Gio. Thank you for your time. Hopefully to see you back in New York, and maybe go to a Peruvian restaurant. I know your favorite.
already have two favorites, but nothing like the ají de gallina that Marita makes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Say hello to Memo too, please, Gio.
I will. Hello to everybody there too. Ciao. Bye.